Good evening, Ship Familia. Welcome back to the latinXfactor Sharpen Your Professional Edge program. This is Dr. Dora Renaud here at Ship, and what a treat we have for you tonight. We are now into our third webinar in a series of 3, getting you ready for 2020, or better yet, getting you into ship shape. So last month we worked with Mr. Universe, Nordine Suarez, to build your inner fitness, providing you with strategies to de-stress. And this webinar series helps you develop, reach, and sustain your goals to live a smarter, healthier lifestyle to get you into the best ship shape you can be and to get you started for the year. So our third webinar tonight is Live Your Life, Calendar Your Life to Live with Purpose. You will learn about tools to manage your time and goals more effectively. So our special guest tonight is our very own Purple Squirrel, Eugenio Jaramillo, who is no stranger to the SHIP family. He's been a keynote speaker at multiple SHIP events. He's a professor at FIU. Eugenio has 40 plus years of work experience in corporate America. He was the Director of Aviation Construction and a consultant specializing in construction and engineering. He has mentored hundreds of SHIP students at Florida International University and Miami-Dade College, and he's coached hundreds of SHIP professionals as well. Eugenio earned a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering at the University of South Florida and an M.B.A. from the University of Miami. So Eugenio, welcome back to SHIP.
Hi, Dora.
How are you?
Great. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. Eugenio, I have to know, why do folks call you the Purple Squirrel?
Thank you for that question. The Purple Squirrel is now becoming ubiquitous. It's going viral. People don't know me by my name anymore. So the Purple Squirrel is a term that is used by employment recruiters to describe that elusive candidate that meets all the experience, qualifications, and education requirements that employers put out there. The idea is that employers overspecify job positions, and finding the candidate is as elusive and as rare as a purple squirrel. It's like a unicorn. I identified that because I love the color purple. They were my high school colors. I was in the band and I was in soccer team, and those were our colors of the uniform. I identified with the rareness because I've had a storied life and career. As you said, a Bachelor of Science Electrical Engineering. I got an M.B.A. from UM. I worked for a computer manufacturer designing hardware and firmware and software. I went on to do real estate development for about 5 years. The bottom fell out of that market, and I went and I had to support my family, so I sold knives. I flipped burgers. I brought the first Checkers franchise to Miami. And then my friends that I've known since high school, they had a construction company and said, hey, come work with us. And I went and worked with them for 25 years, where I progressed from a project engineer all the way up to their first ever Director of Aviation Construction, managing projects mostly at Miami International and Hollywood, the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. During that time, I also was a yoga instructor, and I had my own art gallery and studio in Doral, producing works of art, mainly found objects. I've also been a mentor now, a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm a public speaker, I'm active in Toastmasters, where I achieved my distinguished Toastmasters. So you can see that I've had this storied career, varied life, like a Renaissance man. So I feel like I'm as rare as a purple squirrel. You know, I can fight with a sword or I can fight with a gun. That's the Purple Squirrel.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, makes sense.
Good. Ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, so thank you for joining us, all the Sheptinas out there, all the Shep men, and all the non-Shep people out there, professionals and others alike. This webinar, while it's titled Live Your Life Calendar, what really is the essence of it? It's time management. It's that elusive resource that we all try to manage. Time, to me, is like matter. It cannot be created or destroyed. You can't destroy time, but you can sure waste it. So what do people mean when they say that they're going to make time? You can't make time. You have to get rid of things that are time wasters in order to do the things that are important. So here's my definition of time. It's an irreplaceable resource. Time cannot be replaced. Once it goes away, it goes away. So the story I have about this is that in the construction industry, you have to work every day. Now, if it rains, you can't work that day. So people used to come and tell me, oh, Gino, it rained yesterday, but today we're going to work 16 hours to catch up for yesterday. Well, you lost yesterday's 8 hours. They're gone forever. Today you work 16. And that was today. So today you use 16 hours. So you can't make up time. And knowing how to make the most of time is one of the best skills you can master. Now, corporate America loves to set goals. For many of you that are just graduating, just getting into your professional role, you're going to find out that this happens in corporate America. Big goals, little goals. And corporate America loves metrics. That means they love measurements because what gets measured gets paid attention to, what gets paid attention to gets managed. And they love this thing called SMART goals. I don't know if any of you have run into that before, but the acronym SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goals. But sometimes goals can be so big that they look like an elephant. And then how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. So my calendar, my tools I'm going to give you is going to break it down into daily tasks because you have to work on goals daily. You can't procrastinate and then all of a sudden mad rush at the end when something is due and think you're going to complete or do a good job. When you have no goals or plans, opportunities mean nothing to you. Goals are like the rudder of your life. They point you in the right direction. Now, I worked for 5 brothers for many years, 25 years to be exact. And sometimes I'd go see them and say, hey, how you doing? No, we're busy, super busy. Oh, really? What are you working on? No, we're all over the place, all over the place. I go, well, listen, if you're all over the place, you would really stink at target shooting because you have to hit the target. So that's what goals are. They're your target. Now, the most common complaint I hear is I don't have time. You will find the time to do what you want to do, what's important to you. So let me ask you guys, how many of you watch Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or whatever other streaming service? Do you binge watch episodes? If so, then you have time. Just need to prioritize your time better. You can find time to do things that are important, that make a difference. Now, here's the biggest interrupters I've identified. They happen every day. Email flows across our desk, text messages, WhatsApp can interrupt us, Slack is the new one, phone calls, social media, the internet, people coming to see you and interrupt you in your office. So you have to have tools to keep you focused and keep you on track. And right now we're going to take a little poll to figure out what tool do you currently use to track your appointments or to track your time? Is it Google Calendar? Is it Outlook? Is it iCal? Is it your smartphone? A planner? Good old handwritten planner in a book? What do you use?
Okay, I'm going to launch the poll.
All righty.
Poll is in progress.
Nice.
We have 50 people that have participated. We're at 80% now
Okay.
that have voted. We'll give it 86%.
Nice.
And we'll go ahead and close the polls.
And the results are in, unlike Iowa.
We have 33% that selected smartphone, 17% at Outlook calendar and other calendar, and then another 33% using the agenda.
Perfect. Now, I don't want to blast these tools. They're still good tools. They're great ways to have reminders, doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, things that are important for your life. So you can still use them, but I'm going to give you a tool here. I call it the Live Your Life Calendar. And I came up with this because even though I'm retired now or semi-retired, I have a lot of activities. I had my art gallery going, I was doing my public speaking, I was teaching at FIU, I'm a consultant, I have a young family, I have a big family, like 40 people, so we're always having birthdays and anniversaries and some kind of an event. And these calendars, these tools that you guys said you use, the smartphone and agendas, they just weren't working out for me. Plus, since I was doing so many things, they were conflicting with each other. So I wanted to create something that I could see it all in one place and manage it all in one place and look at it daily. That's what makes me eat that elephant one bite at a time, by having my goals broken down into almost like daily tasks. And then we'll go over to do and not to do list. I hope somebody was surprised by that. There's such a thing as a not to do list. So let's get into the calendar right now. The first thing of the calendar is that it is now an available handout for you. Dora has made it available, which you can download. And it's basically a spreadsheet that has the year 2020 all in blank with every date in the calendar. What I want you to do is think about your life, about what's important to you. Now, here are the things that are important to me, and I've color coded them. And there also happen to be in alphabetical order. So as an artist, I love art shows and art festivals. Quite a few are happening now at this time of the year: the Coconut Grove Art Festival, the Bow Art Festival, the South Miami Art Festival, and I like to keep track of those so I don't miss them. Conferences, I love learning. Not only do I never stop teaching, I never stop learning, so conferences are important to me. My consulting business is important to me, and I put all my appointments there. Networking, I'm a huge networker. I love LinkedIn. I've got over 7,000 connections on LinkedIn, and I hope that you build your network there, because that is the greatest professional networking tool that's out there. And of course, my public speaking, it has to be in there because I'll never turn down stage time. My teaching is there because I'm not only teaching at FIU, where I teach a course in quality control and construction, but I'm also teaching at Miami-Dade College in their continuing education program, doing outreaches to, for instance, the city of Miami has a capital improvement program, and they have a bunch of project managers and construction managers, and they wanted to put a program together for them. I'm also very big into Toastmasters. I belong to 2 clubs. Right now it's contest season, and I volunteer to be a judge or some other functionary at these meetings. And I often speak there because that's what keeps me alive. It keeps me from getting rusty. And then the other bright yellow is training. It's wherever I can go to a training session and receive more education. I put it on my calendar. And then, of course, we all need to rest, vacations. So I urge you to put your vacations in there now. Even if you haven't bought your ticket, you don't have a hotel reservation, you don't know where you're going, or maybe you know where you're going, put those in there too. And then volunteering is something that became very important to me. Recently, I volunteered for the Super Bowl LIV, which is Super Bowl 54. The NFL host committee had a big gang of volunteers. There was 10,000. And I was chosen as a volunteer captain, and that became very important to me. And there are tons of health benefits and general well-being benefits that come from volunteering. So I urge you guys to volunteer. Now, this is my colors, my calendar. For you, it might be something else. There might be that you like to hunt or fish, or you like to travel, or maybe your friend's wedding is on here. Men, make sure you put your anniversary in here. Don't get caught not forgetting your wife or your special person's anniversary. So let's get on to the actual calendar. I know it's a little bit small on the screen, but you get the idea here. It is a spreadsheet, first and foremost. The first column is the most important column. That is the date. And that would be that those dates are pre-filled for you already there in the spreadsheet that has been provided. And I have the date there. The next thing is the time, the range of time when I'm going to be at that certain event. And then the event name is there. The city that it's going to be, because like I said, in 2018, when I started this, I had no idea this would happen, but I was able to travel to 19 different cities in 6 different countries, including Cuba and Russia for the World Cup games. I went on a cruise for my high school reunion, so it was a busy, busy year, and everything was on my calendar. Be careful what you put on the calendar because it becomes manifest destiny. Don't put things on here and then erase them. Whatever you put on here, you are committed to do. And with great opportunity comes great responsibility. So please be very careful with what you put on here, but do put everything on here. I want you to take that 2020 spreadsheet that Dora provided as a handout and start filling it up. Put in when you're going on vacation, put in your business trips, put in important meetings, put anniversaries, put holidays, put birthdays, all the things that you enjoy doing or they're part of your life. And I don't mean the minute by minute, day by day things of your work. These are important milestones, things that it's a venue where you have to travel to it. It's something outside of the office, and you want to put this on your calendar. And then lastly, it's the venue. Like, where is it? Is it a restaurant? Is it a conference hall? Is it at FIU, where I go to many events? And put all those things on there, and here's where you manage it. So you'll notice that some of these things, not only are they color-coded, but they have a strike-through. So you use the format cells, go to strike-through in the font tab, and you can strike through, and this gives you a real sense of satisfaction, of accomplishment, like you accomplished something, and it's a really satisfying feeling to know that you put this on your calendar and you did it. So I encourage you to use this tool.
Gino, is there any significance with the color? The specific
yes,
color
I'm sorry.
to the type of task?
Yeah, let me go. Yeah, let me go back to the legend. That legend is something that is in the template that I sent you, but some of you may not be into teaching or volunteering or whatever. Change those to whatever your activities are, and then use the color for that. It's just a good way to scan your calendar and know what kind of activity you're going to, or that's important to you. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, good. So do we have another question? Poll, another poll? Or did we miss the first one about the demographics?
Let's see. We did. Did you want to do that poll?
Yeah, let's do that to figure out the makeup of who's on the call.
Okay. So we're launching the poll to see who's with us tonight. And we have 50%, 75% who have voted, 88.
Wow.
And we'll close the poll. It looks like 50% are 5+ years out of school. 29% less than 5 years out of school. 7% are graduates and 14% are undergrad. Oh, I forgot to share it. Here we go.
Oh, well, this is a bit surprising to me, and I'm pleasantly surprised because for you folks that are out 5 or more years, I'm happy to hear you be on this because you're learning and you're educating yourself because your company owns your job, but you own your career. And here you are on a Wednesday night. I don't know what time zone you're in. I'm on Eastern Daylight Time. So it's 8:30 almost here in the East. And you're taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to a webinar that will hopefully provide you some tools to better your time management. So I applaud you for doing that. And for the undergrads, you can learn something here too to manage your schedule at school. And then graduate students as well. And the less than 5 years, I hope that you guys are SHPE members and took advantage of that first year free when you got out of school. And I happen to be a lifetime member. I love SHPE so much. So I encourage you to stick with SHPE because when you move, you're mobile now, you're young, you work for a company, say in Region 1, and then you get transferred to Region 7, you will always have your SHPE familia with you. So I encourage you to stay with them. Good?
Okay, we do have a question that just came in.
Okay.
So Gina, I know how involved you must be with your family. Do you keep a calendar as well?
My family activities are on my Live Your Life calendar. My wife's birthday's on there. Our family vacations are on there. My birthday, my kid's birthday, all family events are on there. There was even, I saw right now, there was a birthday of one of my nephews, and I have a huge family. There's like 40 people in my family. So I have to keep track of all that stuff because it's important to me. Family is very important to me. So yes, I have it on my calendar and I encourage you to do the same.
Do your family members keep a calendar as well?
I share it with them.
And do you sync everything?
Yeah, they can see what I'm doing and I can see what they're doing.
Perfect.
Yeah, we have a family calendar, especially with 40 of us.
Oh my gosh.
We also have a WhatsApp group, but the calendar really keeps us in line.
Okay.
Okay.
Back to the slide.
Okay, back to to-do list. This is one of the greatest time management tools that you can use. It is, the definition is it's a list of errands or tasks. It's things you got to do, you must do, or you want to do. It's a well-crafted to-do list is an essential component to keeping your life organized. If you don't have a to-do list and you're trying to go off memory, you will fail. You'll miss that appointment, you'll miss that meeting, you'll miss that networking event. It has to be on a list, whether it's Live Your Life calendar or the to-do list. It has been shown that it increases productivity. It will decrease stress. And it's funny because I have an 11-year-old little girl. She's in 6th grade now. And the other day she said a word to me, "Oh, Dad, I'm so triggered." I'm like, what the heck? She's already using that word, triggered? My goodness. So we live with stress these days. And this is a way to minimize stress by knowing where you're going, when you're going. It takes the guesswork out of it. And then lastly, there are to-do applications. And I believe we have a question now to ask you, poll you, what applications do you use for your to-do list?
Okay. Launching that poll. You're making the attendees work tonight, Gino.
Yeah, man, I'm working. I gotta work.
Got 81%.
Nice.
88,
Perfect.
94,
Wow.
and we'll go ahead and close the polls. And we see that 67% use the good old pen and paper.
How about
27%,
that?
27% use the smartphone, and 7% use software.
So what reveals here is that good old pen and paper is a time-tested tool, and it's okay to use that. It's very satisfying to scratch off something you've done. I don't know if you use loose leaf or if you use a bound book. Personally, I used to love using bound books because I could refer back to what I did if I ever needed to write reports or tell upper management what I did or what I accomplished in the year, especially at performance appraisal time. So good old pen and paper doesn't fail. It doesn't need to boot up. It doesn't need a latest version. So I encourage the use of that tool. And if there's software I know we got some millennials on the call, and software is okay too. If you got something that works, you can use that, but don't forget about pen and paper. Writing things down will help you remember them. Now here's the surprising part, I hope, for some of you, that yeah, there's to-do lists and they're important, but your not to-do list is more important than your to-do list. Here's why. First of all, for your not to-do list, ask yourself, when someone comes to you with something, you say, is this my responsibility or is it someone else's? And I have this push thing that I developed because people used to come to me kind of like a chicken with their head cut off. Oh, what do I do? What do I do? Well, you can push back up to your supervisor, which you have to be careful with. Push down to your subordinate. You can push sideways to your peers, and you can push away to outsource whatever it is. Say your boss comes to you and says, oh, Charlie, we need you to plan this event. Well, guess what? There's event planners for that. You can outsource that. Now be careful with pushing up to your supervisor. There's a fine balance there. Sometimes you may want to accept things your supervisor tells you to do that you know that are his responsibilities because you are learning and you're growing and you may want to do them. But if there's something there that you feel they're just pawning off on you and you're doing their work, feel free to push back and say, I think this is your responsibility. I really don't have time. I used to tell my employers that when they asked me something and I knew it wasn't in my realm, I would say, Johnny, you know what I'm doing? I'm putting that on my not to-do list. Because these are things that prevent you from doing your to-do list. So that's why I say this list is way more important than your to-do list. Let's expand on this. Here's 9 things that you need to stop doing right now. Here's number 1. Trying to do everything. Most people work in a team. If you're a genius, you work by yourself. But if you're not a genius, you need to work on a team. So it has to be a team effort. And you cannot be the person that's always doing everything in the team. So stop trying to do everything. The second one is the feeling or the obligation that you have to answer every single email that you get. Sometimes an email doesn't deserve a response, or sometimes a call or a text message or even a voicemail may not need a response, or it may not need an immediate response. So stop thinking that you need to answer all these interrupters all the time. The third one is thinking that you have to do everything right away. I'm going to share a little tool later. You do not have to do everything immediately. There's things that you need to think about and plan. So don't think you have to do everything immediately. Everything is not urgent. Stop putting important tasks off. If they're important, they need to be attacked and addressed. That's what you do immediately. The important things, the things that are going to make an impact to your career, to your life, to your goals. Stop putting those off. The fifth one is trying to get things perfect the first time around. There's such a thing as a draft. So you can draft things and they don't have to be perfect. You just put down your ideas, number them, or put bullet points, or put some kind of structure to your thinking. And don't think they have to be perfect. Just put everything down on a piece of paper and then you can come back to it and edit it. The sixth one is getting hung up over details. You want to answer an email, you want to answer a voicemail you got, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, what was the name of that person, or where was it that we were? Maybe that's not so important. So don't get hung up on those little tiny details. They're not important. And then not having clear goals. Remember, that's how we started this whole thing. You must have clear goals, and SMART goals are the ones that corporate America loves. Not taking breaks. I see this so much in corporate America. Well, people will sit there, they won't go to the bathroom. They'll sit in an uncomfortable position. They'll get a crick in their neck. They'll get a little pulling in their sciatica nerve or in their thigh because they sat too long. You need to take breaks away, especially from computer screens. They tax the eyes, they tire you. Take a little break. Go to the bathroom, drink some water. That can go a long way to making you last a little longer. And then number 9 is trying to please everyone. The famous saying is you can't please all of the people all of the time. You can please some of the people some of the time. So don't try to please everybody. And you don't have to be rude about this. Just try to stop being a people pleaser. That's not going to get you anywhere. Stay on point, stay on task. Now, Dora asked me to come up with some book recommendations for this time management, and I came up with these 3. One of them is not really time management, but I thought it was salient to the audience that most of you, I suspect, are engineers or you're in STEM, and I'll touch base on that in a second. It's called Driving Innovation from Within. But some of you may have already heard or read the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. And some of you may have seen a video on YouTube of a professor that comes out with a huge jar, and he has a pile of rocks, a pile of gravel, a pile of sand, and he asks the people, hey, can I get all of these things in the jar? And then he also has some water. Now, if you put the sand in first, or the water in first, or the pebbles in first, which are the small things, there won't be room for the big things, the things that are important. So he uses that analogy of placing rocks, pebbles, sand into a jar to help you define what's really important. If you start putting in the little things, such as the pebbles or the sand, the rocks won't fit. However, if you begin with the rock, there's enough room for you to put the tinier items in and around them in the jar. Everybody clear on that? And I hope you can watch that YouTube video. It's very impactful. This helps you set priorities. I'm going to jump to Eat the Frog, which is, or Eat That Frog. This is by a guy that some of you millennials may not know, but he's from my time of the baby boomers, Brian Tracy, a wonderful author and public speaker and motivational speaker. And what he says in Eat That Frog is, you can get control of your time and your life only by changing the way you think, work, and deal with the never-ending river of responsibilities that flows over you each day. And we talked about those, the emails, the voicemails, the text messages, the WhatsApp. You can get control of your tasks and activities only to the degree that you stop doing some things, that's why the not to-do list, and start spending more time on the few activities that can really, really make a difference in your life. When I see all these interviews by Simon Sinek about millennials want to make an impact. And if you want to make an impact, you have to manage your time. Now let's talk about this book by Kaihan Krippendorf. He was a professor at FIU. He's got his own consultancy firm there. I saw a leadership lecture series there recently, and we got this book. And I was so impressed with his talk. Now in this book, he's a strategist and advisor. He disproves one of today's biggest myths to highlight lessons for innovation and leaders. He reveals how many of the modern world's most impactful creations were invented by passionate employee innovators, not the go-it-alone home garage entrepreneurs. If it wasn't for them, we would not have mobile phones, personal computers, or email. And he lays out a step-by-step playbook to unlock innovation from the inside. He maps the barriers that frustrate efforts to disrupt from within and provides tools to remove them, detailing how visionary leaders can create islands of freedom inside an organization. And organizations are realizing that this model is what's truly going to make change. So that's my recommendation for the 3 books. If you haven't read the 7 Habits, please do so. It's one of the classics. It's probably top 5 time management books. It says there are 15 million copies sold. That number is probably low right now. But I welcome any questions on these books. You'll get my contact information at the end of this, and I welcome any questions sent to me directly via email or through Dora. Now we get to the Q&A portion of the webinar, and we did leave plenty of time for this. I feel that true learning really happens with the questions in my class. I tell the students that they cannot leave class unless they ask 3 questions. So tonight I tell you that you cannot leave the webinar unless I get at least 3 questions. Do we have any questions, Dora?
I think our attendees are jotting them down now.
Beautiful.
But while we're waiting for them to come in, I've got a question for you.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think is the most important takeaway for our attendees today?
The most important takeaway is to live your life. There's a famous cartoon with Snoopy sitting at the edge of a dock where he says, "Hey, Snoopy, you have only one life." And Snoopy quips back, "Wrong, Charlie Brown. You only die once. You live every day." So my message to you is live every day to your full capacity. Don't sit there and watch binge episodes. Don't binge on episodes of whatever latest series there is. Stop watching YouTube and do something impactful with your life. Don't waste it. You can have fun. You can hang out with your friends. You can play video games, but limit those kind of activities and do something with your time. Volunteer at your church or your school or the NFL experience. NFL is coming to Tampa next year. Really cool experience. I volunteered at the Performing Arts Center and I was part of the grand opening ceremonies. I volunteered at Hands on Miami. I volunteered at Jimmy Carter's organization, which I forget the name now, about building homes for people. Okay. So I encourage you to live your life and volunteer.
All righty. Thank you for that. We do have some questions coming in. This is kind of a shout out for Edwin Daveras. He wants to know, let's go back to that color code chart. What is the priority on the colors? They do not seem to be all equally important, although I may be wrong.
That is correct. There is no pecking order here. There's no priority. The first priority is that you've identified what is important to you. So if you get a conflict where something like, hey, do I go to a networking event or do I go to vacation with my family? That's when you decide what's more important. These categories that I put here were just categories of my life, of what I'm doing now and what's important to me. They could be very different for you. But the reason I use the calendar and why I came up with it is I can see it all in one place, and I'm always looking for speaking opportunities. I'm looking for travel opportunities. You know, last year, Dad said, hey, Gino, you want to go to Dubai? And so I had to look at my calendar and figure out, when does Dubai fit in there? And I made it fit. So it was a way to keep track of different events so that I wouldn't conflict with my events and so that I could have opportunities. If I didn't have it written down, then I would sign up for a webinar or a conference or a convention and then realize, oh, wow, I already have something else. So this makes me look there first before I go sign up for something else.
All right, so we have Berta Medina who wants to know,
my coach.
Have you noticed a difference in your stress time management since you started using the calendar?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Berta. Berta happens to be one of my speaking partners and accountability coach, and I love her and I love the question. Absolutely, my stress is way down. I know exactly what I'm doing the next day, and I just take it one day at a time. If you're looking at something that is next week or next month or next year that may not even happen, we may not even be walking this earth. If you just take it one day at a time, you'll find an amazing, relaxing feeling of no stress because you're mapped out, you're planned out, you're doing it one day at a time. You're eating that elephant one bite at a time.
Okay, so we have a question from Gino Changwan, and he's asking, Gino, how do you go about dealing with unexpected events that may interfere with your plans and schedule? That's a great question.
That is an awesome question. Now, since I know what I'm doing when an unexpected event comes, I have to give it a test. Is it something that's urgent and important? Then I need to shift my calendar around. But if it's not, I stay with my calendar.
Okay. Next question is from Samantha Martinez. What if we are so overwhelmed with our action items in our early careers that we feel it'll be impossible to manage our to-dos as we progress upwards and have many more responsibilities?
That's a great question. I really don't have an answer for you other than applying the principle of what is important to you. Is it important to you? I know that you want to move up and you want to impress your bosses, your superiors, but I go back to my things not to do. You don't have to do everything. You can outsource things. You can work in teams. So I wouldn't stress out. And certainly by having a to-do list and putting it on this calendar, it helps you begin to manage it. Because if you don't manage it, then those things will manage you and dictate to you your time. You want to be in control of this as much as you can. And that feeling of control is what releases the stress.
Okay, so we have another question from Edwin Taveras. He wants to know, he's saying, your volunteer experience is pretty interesting. I'm looking to volunteer more. How and where do you find these opportunities?
You know, it's incredible how life is because the law of attraction really works. So me being this semi-retired professor and consultant and speaker, I have more time than the average bear. So I'm always looking to stay busy. So you have to look for causes that you're passionate about, whether it be with your church, with your school. For instance, I got asked to do a public speaking class to my local Girl Scouts troop, and I volunteered there. And I'm probably going to be doing a youth leadership program with them, which is an 8-week commitment, 1 day a week for 8 weeks. So these things kind of come to you. You attract them by your thinking. If you say to yourself, Edwin, I want to volunteer, I want to volunteer, volunteer opportunities will surface and one thing will lead to another.
And don't forget the SHIP convention. We are recruiting volunteers.
Hey, and when is it, Dora? It's like in November?
It's at the end of October, October
October.
29th to November 1st. We need volunteers. We haven't started advertising for it, but
Okay.
please put that on
And
your radar.
I'm going to put it on my Live Your Life. And what city is it in this year?
Denver, Colorado.
Oh, nice. Yeah, a lot of conventions have gone there. I know my Toastmaster folks went there last year, and now you guys are headed there this year. Awesome. Great city. Very central to the country.
Okay.
October 29 to November 1st.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's going on my calendar.
So we have a question from Diego Martinez. So it feels to me that you are saying that we should be more open, say yes, more things in life, but be careful to what we say yes to and have the courage to say no at the same time.
Yes, it's a fine balance, and no is the shortest sentence in the English language. No, period. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to give an excuse. You don't have to tell people why you said no. A simple no, a courteous no, shortest answer that'll get you your results. So you say yes to the things that are important to you. But if there's something that's going to take time away from your vacation or your work or your family or your hobbies or your volunteering, and it's really an extra thing that you really shouldn't be doing, don't feel bad about saying no.
Okay. Diego says thank you.
You're welcome, Diego.
Okay. So the questions have slowed down a little bit, but Gino, I do want to share the most important point that I took away from your webinar today, and it was that your company owns your job, but you own your career. That was
Yes,
so
ma'am.
profound. Because you're the boss of
Yeah,
your life.
that is, yeah, exactly. You're the boss of your career. If not you, then who? If not now, when? You are the person in charge of your career. You're the one, maybe through mentors, maybe through a good boss, that figures out where you want to be. Where do you want to be in 5 years or 10 years? And what does it take to get there? Does it take, for instance, many of you are engineers. Is it going to be the PMP certification from the PMI? Is it going to be some other certification? Is it going to be your PE license that's important? Seek out those trainings. Now, some trainings are offered at your company, and I'm a big proponent of accepting all those trainings. And if none of those fit your curriculum of what you want to do, then ask. Because if you don't ask, or you don't knock on that door, it won't be open. So maybe you come to your boss and you say, look, I found this wonderful conference that I think we should all go to because we're going to learn this or that or the other thing. And you go sell it to them. So you are in charge of your career because that job is in jeopardy every day. Things that are happening. I mean, today I heard on public radio that Hyatt, and I don't want to scare anybody with the Corona thing, but Hyatt closed 1,400 properties in China. and
Oh,
Marriott closed 400. So can you imagine you're working for Marriott and then now you don't have a job? What are you going to do? You need to have those marketable, transferable skills to take you to the next thing. I've reinvented myself my whole life, starting as a computer engineer, real estate developer, franchisee, contractor, yoga instructor. You have to constantly be reinventing yourself because you never know when you're going to be out of a job because you don't own that job.
great point there. And I want to make a connection to that. In late March, we actually have a new program coming out for our professionals, and it's our Mind Edge program. And it's over 150 online workshops or webinars for our professional members. You take those courses and you can get a certification. There's all types of ways to improve yourself, improve your skills there. So be looking out for that.
Take
In
advantage.
late March, yes.
Take advantage. Dora,
Discounting. Yes, sir.
let me ask you, is it free?
It is very, very discounted. It's not
Okay.
free, but it's
Well,
discounted
it's
for our
okay.
members.
It's okay because free has no value, but certainly a discounted rate for some great education, some great training.
Yeah, the name of the program is Mind Edge. It's our extended learning program for our professionals.
Wonderful. I look forward to it, and I'm going to take advantage of it too.
Okay. We even have a cybersecurity program within there that's, I don't recall the exact number of courses, but you could actually get a cybersecurity certification at the end of those.
Wow.
courses.
Cybersecurity is so huge. FIU, because I have an email address with FIU and I have access to their learning management system, they just made me go through. I watched probably 20 videos and they asked 3 questions per video. And if you don't get them right, go back and do it again. It took me about 2 hours of sitting there and I got a cybersecurity training. Cybersecurity is huge these days.
Yes. All right. Sweet.
Yeah, and at the company that I worked for before, we actually got hacked and got some ransomware. And they had to pay a lot of money to get their data back.
It's pretty scary. So we have another question here. So he's saying, I use many different calendars, for example, Outlook for work tasks, pen and paper for weekly tasks, a pin-up calendar for personal goals, my phone's apps for family, friend events, etc. Do you think it'll be more effective to combine them all? Keeping these separate are sort of my color code system like the one you use.
Yeah, great question. I think that whatever works for you is what's best. I'm just offering this Live Your Life calendar because it puts it all in one place so that you can figure out if there are conflicts. Because I don't know how you figure out if there's a conflict between what you wrote on a piece of paper or what's in your smartphone or what's somewhere else. So yeah, my smartphone still has reminders for me. I'm 65 now, so my memory's not that good. Even though I look at my calendar every day, sometimes, a little reminder will pop up and it's nice. Like, for instance, I put all my drives that I have to do on Waze, especially with this crazy traffic in Miami. So I'll put it in Waze, a planned drive, and then they'll come out and say, hey, your lunch meeting today, you need to start leaving your house by such and such time. So the reminders are good. I like the reminders. This calendar doesn't give you a reminder other than looking at it every day and knowing what your day is going to be like. So I encourage the use of multiple things, but I encourage putting it all in one place. You can see it all at one shot.
Okay. Here's an interesting question. So I noticed in your calendar you had publish book. Are you publishing a book? And
Yes.
can you talk about it?
Thank you. That kind of snuck in there. But that's the date I picked because February 29 there's only one of those this year. and the next one won't be for another 4 years. So yeah, I'm working on a book. I've written 30 chapters. It has 4 appendices as well. And it's called The Purple Squirrel Speaks. So speaking has to do with my speaking, public speaking has to do with my teaching, but it's basically stories about my life as a leader and as a mentor, and how they translate from not only overcoming adversity, coming here as an immigrant 57 years ago to Miami, but I try to draw some kind of lesson out of my writing. So at the end of each chapter or maybe a section, I will have a lesson. And the lesson will be a deep thought that I had about what I experienced. And I hope that you learn from that lesson. So there's a Russian proverb that says, a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. A smart man learns from his own mistakes. And a dumb man never learns. So you need to learn from your life so that you can get better as you go at it. It didn't come with an instruction manual. It's by trial and error. So these are all my trials, my errors, and hopefully they are lessons for your life.
So when is this book coming out?
February 29, next week.
Ah, I thought that's when you're publishing. That's when it comes out. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want an autographed book.
It'd be my pleasure.
Okay. So we need to wrap it up. We have a lot of thank yous to Gino here in the chat box. So
Awesome.
folks, there you go. Ship Familia, February 29th, the Purple Squirrel Speaks, hot off the press. So please join me in thanking Eugenio Jaramillo, the Purple Squirrel. Bravo, outstanding tips and strategies here. Ship Familia, please remember to take our survey. You will receive a thank you email with the survey link right after this webinar. So we need your feedback to make this program the best it can be. We hope to see you in March for webinar number 4 as we celebrate women in engineering for Women's History Month, featuring our Star Award winner, Diana Ortega. Come hear her inspiring story and get actionable career advice. Remember that this recording, along with other webinars, are found on the SHPE.org website in the Programs tab under latinXfactor, Sharpening Your Professional Edge program. Gino, thank you again for being a part of our Ship Familia and all you do.
Thank you for the opportunity, Dora, and I was blown away by the questions. Thank you so much to everybody for attending and for asking those really poignant questions. Got me thinking.
Okay, so signing off from Ship National. Buenas noches, Ship Familia.
Hasta mañana.